Chapter 11. Lucy. Apart from lunch, which went far too fast, the rest of the day dragged until it was time to head home. When Tana pulled up in front of her house, she wanted to suggest they go somewhere else instead. She didn't want to say goodbye yet. Tana leaned towards her, reaching for her. "I'll see you tomorrow night." Before she had a chance to reply, his lips met hers. Then she didn't care about replying, only holding him close. Eventually she reluctantly pulled away from him, opening the car door. She remained in the seat, meeting his intense gaze. Finally, remembering his comment, she nodded. "I'll see you tomorrow night." She held his gaze a moment longer before she got out of the car, closing the door behind her. When she reached the front door, she turned and waved to him as he drove off. She continued to stare in the direction he'd taken, well after he disappeared. It was only then that she realized Justin's car wasn't parked out the front. She couldn't help grinning. An afternoon without having to put up with Dylan. That was certainly an event worth celebrating. At least she hoped so. For all she knew, they'd come home in Leah's car. She looked towards the closed doors of the double garage. If her sister was at home. Before she opened the front door, she checked for a rosebud. Her good mood ended along with her smile. Heart racing, she bent down to pick up the rose, careful to touch only the stem. She stared at it. There were bright red splatters across the white petals. At first she thought it was blood. A closer look showed it was probably ink. Who would do something like this? Surely not her secret admirer. If Dylan had been visiting, she would have blamed it on him. Okay, so maybe he wouldn't have done it. Just because she found him annoying, it didn't mean he'd do something like this. He'd even helped her try to find the meaning of white roses, so she doubted it would have been him. But who would have done it? She thought of Cole, who'd glared at her. It probably wouldn't be him either. She bet he didn't even know where she lived. She looked up and down the street. No one was about. Now she had two questions to answer. Who was her secret admirer, and who hated her? So much for telling Jack there was nothing he could help with. She stared at the bright red droplets. Hopefully he'd be able to help her find out who'd done that to her rose. Maybe that's why the angel had told him to help her. Although why an angel would tell him that, she had no idea. Especially since she didn't believe in them. Once in her room, she dropped the rose into the waste paper bin, watching as streaks of red smeared across the crumpled paper that was in it. Her attention was drawn to her curtain when it flapped in the breeze. No. She slammed her window shut, panic rushing through her as she pulled a handful of tissues from the box on the edge of the desk, to mop up the water from her fallen vase. She righted the vase, but the roses remained scattered. She eyed the area around her laptop, and breathed out heavily when she saw it was dry. Only the edge of her desk and the carpet had been wet. Luckily she never put much water in the vase. The sodden tissues were thrown in the bin, causing the red ink to smear further. For a moment she couldn't drag her eyes away from the spreading stains. Why had her window been wide open? She never opened it completely. Her sister better not have been in her room, or she'd make her life miserable. Striding to her sister's room, she banged on the door. There was no answer. Swinging it open, she saw the room was empty. Maybe Leah had been home earlier and had gone already. She walked slowly back to her room as she took her phone from her pocket, ringing her sister's number. As soon as Leah answered, she demanded, "Were you home earlier?" "No. Not that it's any of your business where I go. I don't whinge at you when you're late. Did I yesterday?" "It's not that. Someone's been messing with my stuff." Reaching her room, she sat on the edge of her bed. As if. Why would I want to mess with your stuff? My window was open. It was probably Mum. She's always complaining you should open your window and let more fresh air in. I suppose. When will you be home? I don't know. Later. Much later. Before Mum and Dad get home. Okay. Once she hung up, she returned her phone to her pocket and slid off the bed. She slowly crossed the room to stare at the roses scattered across the corner of her desk, some of the petals having fallen on the floor. She probably should throw out the older ones. There was no point in keeping them. Picking up the ones that were still fine, she returned them to the vase, throwing the rest in the bin. Gathering up the petals from the floor, she carefully put them in some crumpled paper, so they didn't fall through the small love heart holes scattered randomly across the sides. She stared at the mess, deciding to take it outside to empty it in the wheelie bin. She'd barely stepped back inside the front door when her phone rang. Seeing it was her sister, she wondered what she'd forgotten to say. Yeah. Mum's ringing you. Tell her I'm at home. I'm not far away, all right? Okay. Her sister hung up before she could ask her what was going on. Shrugging, she slid her phone back in her pocket and headed for her bedroom. She guessed she'd find out soon enough. The phone didn't ring again until after she'd returned her bin to its spot beside her desk. Checking the display, she saw it was her mother. Yeah. Do you remember that weekend for two I tried to win last month? Yeah. Her word was hesitant as she tried to figure out why her mother would be bringing it up again. It didn't seem important enough for her to ring from work about it. I remember. One of your friends won. Dad said he didn't know why you'd bothered since neither of you ever win anything. Yes, that's the one. Well, my friend and her husband can't go. He broke his leg this afternoon and she's currently sitting up at the hospital with him. She offered the weekend away to your father and me. Okay. She wondered how he'd broken his leg, but guessed she'd hear all about it during dinner tonight. Probably more details than she really wanted to know. Does that okay mean you're happy for your sister to look after you for the weekend? She tried to keep the enthusiasm from her voice when all she wanted to do was jump up and down on the spot saying, yes, over and over again. Sure. As long as I still get to go to the movies tomorrow night, like you agreed. She was pretty certain her voice sounded normal, and didn't give away any of her excitement. Come straight home once the movie is finished. Okay. And I want you to pack our bags. We need to head straight from work. We won't have time to come home and pack before we leave. Not without being late. You're far more organized when it comes to packing than your sister. Leah can drop the suitcase off to me at work. Are you sure you're happy to have your sister look after you this weekend? You won't fight with each other, will you? Lucy grinned. They were going this afternoon? Even better. Sure. We'll be okay. It was an effort to keep her tone normal. She wanted to scream excitedly. There was no way she was heading straight home after the movie. No way at all, and she doubted Leah would make her. You ring me if you have the slightest problem. No matter what time it is. We'll be fine, Mum. It took her nearly 10 minutes to reassure her mother. While she continued to speak to her, she packed clothes for her parents, several times asking her mother which garment she preferred. By the time she got off the phone, the suitcase was packed and her sister had arrived. Leah took the suitcase. I was planning to go to a party with Justin tonight. Lucy shrugged. It doesn't bother me. I don't care if you're here or not. Leah stared at her for a moment, a smile slowly forming. You won't tell Mum and Dad if I stay at Justin's place tonight? As long as I don't have to come straight home after the movie tomorrow night. Leah grinned. Deal. I'll see you tomorrow. She hurried away before Lucy had a chance to say another word.